Hi, guys. I saw that a few of you are early birds today, like Sandy Stockdale. You received the book? Oh, I'm so excited. I hope you enjoy it. And Doreen, is it Greta? You were in here early today, too. And Jeanette Persons from Lisbon, North Dakota. The sun is shining. Isn't that great? Doesn't it just make you feel better when the sun is shining? Hey, Beth Malik. Good to have you here. And Donna Lynn from South Jersey. And Barb Zaz from Cincy. What's that? Cincinnati, maybe? Was that a good guess on my part? And Christy Newberg-Getch from Battleground, Washington, and Rebecca Franick. So you guys, it's May 12th. I went today and looked at that thing I always look at, like what nationally observed days happen on May 12th. I saw that we missed yesterday on May 11th, Eat Anything You Want Day. How could I have missed that and not shared that important information with all of you? So, we are in the middle of National Women's Health Week. I participate with them every year, which is why I've got my pamphlet here of everything I've promised that I would do. But it is a week that I'm really happy that they do this. This is the Department of Health and Human Services. And what they do is they just establish a week that we should all think about our own health. So I am kind of dedicating this week to women's health, everybody's health in general, and also to all the people who take care of us, the nurses and the doctors and the medical personnel, because it also just happens to be that we have been observing National Nurses Week all week, and today, in fact, is International Nurses Day, which is interesting because, and it's also National Hospital Day today. This is all, important for us to think about because it's not just here in the United States, it's all around the world that medical personnel are working to fight against this coronavirus pandemic. But I'm excited because we're going to be able to talk to an ICU trauma nurse today. But I want all of you to stay in the head, okay, it's 1 week to devote to our health. Go back in your calendar. When did you last have your mammogram? When did you last have a colonoscopy? When did you last have, head to toe skin check? I tore this out of a magazine yesterday. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. So how many of you want me to have Dr. Neil Schultz back on? Would you like me to have him back on? Because I'll do that. And here I'm just going to put that down so I make sure that so tell me if you want me to have Dr. Neil Schultz back on to talk about skincare and what's involved in a head to toe skincare check to, I don't know, maybe put you at ease. It's so important. It is one of the most preventable cancers ever. And so is colon cancer. So for those who have the book, I want you to check out chapter, I think it's chapter 9 on page 118. And I go through all the different tests that we should all have on an annual basis. Or, some people might be told they don't have to have another colonoscopy for 3 years. But I love the quote because I start each chapter with a quote. And this one happens to be a quote by Beyonce. And I love it because she's like, hey, we have to care about our bodies and what we put in them. Women have to take time to focus on their mental health. We need to take time for ourselves, for the spiritual, without feeling guilty or selfish. The world will see you the way you see you. And the world will treat you the way you treat yourself. And so that's, and I just have to share one other one because tomorrow we're going to have on Megan Murphy. She's the chief content editor of Women's Day magazine. She's a firecracker. And chapter 8, this reminds me of her. And this reminds me of me. Be the kind of woman that when your feet hit the floor every morning, the devil says, oh crap, she's up again. I love that. Oh, by the way, obviously time for a shameless book. Has anyone gone into a bookstore yet? Like, are you living in a state that's open maybe? And maybe you've gone into a bookstore. I'm dying to hear from the first person who goes into a bookstore. So today we are going to be meeting Jacquie, and she works at the Westchester Medical Center, and she's been on the front lines of this coronavirus pandemic. And Jacquie Baldo's only 28 years old. She has two little children, 1 and 4 years old. And she's working in a part of Westchester Medical Center that is dedicated to caring for COVID-19 patients, and really the worst of them, the ones that are really, really fighting the battle. And she and her husband and children live in Eastern Connecticut. So she also has a 1-hour commute in the morning and then back at home the end of the day. And we're going to hear from her what she has to go through just to be able to go back into her house safely. So we are going to have Jacquie Baldo join us now. Hi, Jacquie.
Hi, Joan.
Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you.
I know, I mean, it's your day off. You guys are working so hard. I really appreciate that you are giving us this time. Are you working, did I hear right, 12-hour shifts? Is that the norm for a nurse?
Yeah, for our the unit I work in, it is 12-hour shifts, but a lot of that time is longer than the 12 hours by the time we're done with our daily tasks.
What's the shift like?
From start to end, we're running as nurses, doctors, everyone that works in the hospital. We don't stop from the time we walk in until the time we leave. It's just nonstop going, the 12 hours.
I know I heard you say before when we were just talking that the labor is just so intensive. Is that because of all the machinery? I mean, you don't usually have as many ventilators, I don't imagine, that everyone's having to work right now.
Right. When COVID started and we opened up our unit for 19 COVID patients, we had 19 ventilators, which is a lot more than we're used to. So yeah, it's been busier than we're all used to.
Have you guys been able to learn anything that's helped people stay alive? Just because this whole thing was so new, so different, nobody knew what the heck was going on in the beginning.
Yeah, we're starting to see some trends with the patients. They experience similar symptoms. Sometimes during the beginning, middle, and end of the virus, we're able to see familiar things that we've seen with people earlier on that we didn't really understand. So the more patients we have, the more we're getting to become familiar with the symptoms and what to do for them earlier on than in the very beginning when we were not used to having any patients with COVID because it was brand new to us.
If it's caught early on, is it easier to take care of the patient and hope maybe even not get them onto a ventilator?
It really depends on the patient. Age is a big factor. Weight is a big factor. Catching it early can prevent them from needing a ventilator if they're in the ICU and we're constantly monitoring them and helping them with breathing exercises and making sure that they're on the proper oxygen support that they need. But I don't think it's necessarily 100%, preventative catching it early. Yeah. But it definitely helps if you get into the hospital faster and we could help you faster.
So, of course, testing is important and people not waiting around. It's so troubling because the symptoms don't necessarily immediately tell you, I have it.
Right.
So some people have waited. When you said wait, like we all hear about if somebody has an underlying, if they have diabetes, if they have an underlying lung condition or something, or if they're older, but weight is also a tough factor.
Yeah, a lot of the patients we're seeing are, larger than the average size. And we actually have seen a variety of ages from older to young. So age doesn't so much have that much to do with it, but definitely just comorbidities and lifestyle habits we've seen made someone worse or a little less severe.
Have you seen any trend in fewer patients maybe, or is it still, or as things start opening up, little by little? I mean, we're of course in the tri-state area. I'm in the same area as you. So we haven't opened up as much as some of the other states. But what have you guys been seeing?
We have seen a decrease in the amount of patients that are coming into the ICU specifically, which is great. But there definitely are still more cases coming in. So the way that the nurses see it is that staying home and making sure that you're safe and using the correct protection for yourself, using good hand hygiene is still very important at this time.
Jacquie, the fact that this virus attacks the lungs, that's what makes it so scary. I mean, the fact that you have to, in many cases, have a ventilator just to let you breathe. I have to imagine that that's part of what has made this pandemic so incredibly frightening, not just for the patients, but for you guys as well.
Yeah. The breathing is a huge factor. You can't live if you can't breathe. And we've seen patient after patient come in needing ventilators, long-term ventilator use. And it's definitely been something that we haven't seen in a very long time. The lungs take a big hit with this virus, and pulmonary cares and oxygen support and everything is crucial with them.
I must tell you, Natalie Caruso just came online. She says, "Thanks, Jacquie, for saving her brother. You are our angel on earth."
Yeah, I've gotten very close with that family. He was one of our first patients to come in, and he was actually our first patient to be discharged from the ICU. And I can't even talk about it without getting choked up, because that's how great it was for all of us to experience some light in the darkest of our days, and it was him.
I have to imagine just the fact that none of the hospitals can allow friends or family in. And so these patients are there alone and with you guys, but they can't have loved ones there. And especially if they don't win their battle and they pass, they can't have their loved ones around. Is that part of also is what that's made this so strikingly difficult for you?
Yes, because we have 1 to 2 patients on average, and both of, we're doing everything that we can for them to save their lives. But at the same time, we have to serve as their family, because they're not allowing any family into the hospital at this time. So the trauma ICU has done amazing things with iPads and phone calls and everything. A lot of the nurses that I work with have stayed after their shift to be with people that aren't doing well, just so that they're not alone. And we've gotten so close to these patients because we're with them for 12 and a half hours, sometimes nonstop, from 7 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night, and the night shift as well. And we've just seen them go from the worst of their days to the best of their days. And it's just unbelievable, in such a horrible time and such a horrible virus, that some of these people were able to get better and really get back to their families that they haven't been able to see in 6 weeks, a couple months.
Well, one of your patients in particular, a lot of us here in this area, maybe even nationally, saw him on the news with you. He came to you. He was transferred to you from another unit. He was in a medically induced coma. He has 2 little children and a wife. And one of the things I'd never heard about this before is that he was pronated. So explain to us, I never even thought about that before going on a ventilator, that's like the last ditch effort, right? To put you on your stomach.
Right. So it's actually new to a lot of us as well. I mean, me as a younger nurse, I had not been familiar with it before this virus. The other nurses I work with who have been there for a long time have used this before for patients with very serious lung issues. They placed the patient, a team. We've formulated a team in our ICU to actually come in, and they flip the patients from their backs to their stomachs when they're not keeping their oxygen saturation up. on their backs, they flipped them on their bellies, and we were using that with the COVID patients. So they would come in at 10 in the morning and flip all the ones that had to be flipped for the best oxygenation. And then the following, I think it was 14 hours or 16 hours later, we'd flip them back to their backs. But it was an attempt to optimize their oxygen. And it actually worked great with so many of these people. And this patient was one of them. The proning really helped him.
I think his name is Nick. Do I remember that correctly? No. Yes? Yeah. So, I mean, you guys, he obviously went on a ventilator. And one of the things I thought was so great is I'm told that in the beginning that you took the iPhone and put it up to his ear and let his wife talk to him. He obviously couldn't talk back.
Right.
But I have to imagine that emotionally, spiritually, that had to be comforting to him to be able to just hear his wife's voice.
Right. Him and the family. I mean, his wife spoke with him. His kids were able to speak with him. And it was very short after we started the phone calls with him and his family that he started making rapid improvements. It was really, really a miracle to watch.
I heard here also, someone also came in with 109 fever. I mean, like, you can recover from that, I guess?
Yeah, the patient that I told you guys about with the fever almost to 109, we've seen patients with fevers 107, 108, but he almost hit 109, and he's actually doing great right now. He's still in our unit, but he's the next patient that we're seeing really, really make great strides in his recovery. And it's amazing to see. I mean, a fever of 109, I'm not sure anyone has heard of anyone do well with that, but he really, he is fighting, and he's doing great, and we all love him. And we've just grown to be so close with these people. And it's just amazing to see the good in, like I said, such a bad virus that's going on in this world.
Yeah, when the one patient that we're speaking of that kind of like, I think he was okay in like 3 weeks with you guys. And when he was leaving the hospital, you were off. He said, I got to have her here. And you went back into the hospital and walked him out.
Yeah, he was amazing. We just connected quickly. As soon as he woke up, I took care of him a couple days in a row. And it's just an emotional time for everybody, patients, us, the whole society, the whole world. We're all emotionally involved and invested in this. And, he was vulnerable to me because I was his nurse and I was taking care of him. And I felt vulnerable to him because he's the first happy thing we've seen in a while. And we just connected on a level, and I got close with his wife. We both have young families, and he's thankful for me, but I'm also very, very thankful for him. And I think that we'll forever have a bond. And the fact that I was able to walk him out was amazing. I would have never missed it. There was like 50 to 100 people there to greet him when he walked out of the doors. And it was just probably the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life as a nurse, my entire life, period.
Just that level of emotional and excitement, and we got him through it. Wow. Yeah. And I didn't really totally understand that after they go through this and you get them off the ventilator, there's a certain amount of rehab that's usually needed. Exactly what are they learning rehabbing for? Just to breathe?
For someone like him, it's when you're on bed rest for a while and you're getting used to being up and moving around and doing, your daily activities. The rehab center monitors them and their pulmonary status and how they're tolerating doing things such as exercising. And instead of how we monitor them when they're sitting down and at rest, they do something called endurance training. So they're using treadmills and bicycles with them to make sure that their lungs are tolerating the activity and exercise before they're discharged back to their normal lives.
Yeah, so they can just walk upstairs and everything. Right. Here we have Joyce Levine Grabo. My sister is in a Miami hospital, and I pray that she has a nurse even half as special as Jacquie. Isn't that wonderful to hear? Can we put Kim Karen back up? Kim Karen, this name might sound familiar to you. I remember being with Jackie when she was in nursing school and studying for her exams. I saw her drive then and her determination. So I'm not surprised that she is an amazing nurse. I graduate nursing school tomorrow. Wow. And I can only hope to be just half the nurse Jackie is. I'm going to make both of us cry, Jackie. So wait, I also want to ask you, you're there all day with all of these people who have the most contagious virus we've ever come across. How do you, I mean, doesn't that really scare you and all your nurses? And have any of the nurses caught it?
It does. It's scary. But this is what we are placed here to do. This is what we do. So it would never stop any of us. I work with some of the strongest people that I've ever met. And yes, we have had instances where nurses have fallen ill, who have taken their time to recover and have luckily gotten right back to work within weeks, like less than 2 weeks. We've had 2 nurses out that have come back and have gone right back into the rooms without skipping a beat and are strong just as they were before they left. And we recently had one of our own nurses in our ICU.
Patient?
Yes, for COVID. So to see, her make great rapid improvement, and she was able to be discharged back to her home and family within a week. She's one of us, she's our family. So of course we were all invested in her and her well-being, but it was her strength and her determination to get out of the hospital as soon as she could and get back to her family and life, and her patients as well. And within a week, she was discharged from the ICU to her house, and she's doing really well right now. So we have seen it, but it hasn't stopped us.
I want to put up a picture of of you with the mask, the shield. If the folks in my office can do that. So here you are in, your full gear in the hospital. So you're completely covered, like from your head down over down to your chin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now let's take a look at the mask at the end of can we look at Jackie at the end of the day? Because we've been seeing a lot of these, just what it does to your face. All right, now we'll take a look at Jackie. And by the way, Jackie, good job on the makeup today.
It takes a lot these days.
So let me ask you, has the Westchester Medical Center had everything that it needs? Has it had, ventilators and I guess the PPEs, everything to keep you guys safe? Have you had enough to be able to take them off and have new ones when you need it?
So yeah, in the beginning, I believe that the rules and regulations, I don't know if it was with the CDC or what, have changed. In the beginning, we were getting a different mask every time we went in and out of the room. Now we have one per shift. But it's been, if we need one, if we drop it or if it gets soiled or whatever, they are available to us. But we did see a change from the beginning of the virus to later in the virus as to what was the recommendations, rules, and regulations for our protective equipment.
To having less than you need, or to just realizing that you didn't maybe need as many as you were using?
Right. I think the second thing you said. Okay. I think we have stayed protected with what the hospital is giving us as far as, up to date.
So at the end of the day, at the end of the shift, whenever that is, what happens when some of you go to, what do you have to physically go through there and then at home?
So when our shift is over, a lot of us sit for the first time in the 12 hours. We change out of our exposed clothing. So we usually bring sweatpants or anything to change into for our ride home. And that first breath of fresh air when we walk out of the hospital is the best thing that we can wait for the whole day. And then we come home to our houses, and we all have families and animals and things that we can't bring our germs home to. So we all have formulated plans that work for us to minimize the amount of exposure we have to our families.
So what do you do before dogs or kids are allowed to set eyes on you?
So I live an hour away. So when I get off the highway, it's about 5 minutes from my house. I'll call my husband or whoever's home and say, I'm going to be home in 5 minutes, get the dogs outside, get the kids upstairs, whatever you have to do. So when I walk in the house, my shoes come off outside, and I just run straight into the bathroom, into the shower, lock the door, so no one could see me or hear me. And I shower before anybody that is living in the house has anything to do with me.
So you have to get a new set of clothes off and be totally scrubbed down. You don't want the kids to see you because they might run to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so are the patients that are getting out now, are people getting better any faster? Or is it pretty much, it is what it is, and we hope that you can just make it to the end?
Yeah, it really is patient specific. It has a lot to do, like I said earlier, with what you have prior to coming in. We've seen a variety of things. We've seen people get faster sooner. We've seen a lot of the same people that started with the COVID still in our unit today. So it really depends on the patient themselves. There's really not a rhythm or explanation for how things are improving. There's not a trend. It's just kind of, it's just patient specific. People are recovering how they're recovering on their own.
I just have to imagine that the emotions that you go through during any one shift, the tears that must be shed during any one shift. I know that you said people have tried to give you gifts, and you said, that's not what we're doing this for. We're doing it because we're nurses. But if somebody wanted to just, I don't know, buy a pizza for the crew or something, if they wanted to do something for ICU Trauma Unit at the Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, New York, do you guys even have a chance to can you get time off to go have dinner or lunch or anything?
Usually not. We try and protect each other, and we try and at least have us be drinking and eating whenever we can. We're not really taking actual breaks or anything during this time. But we have a bunch of our nurses have great family and friends that are sending us stuff almost on a daily basis. Our patients' families are sending us stuff on a daily basis just to make sure we are drinking and at least having some sort of snack during the day. So in that sense, it's been great. The support from everyone has been great, and just prayers that every one of us and our patients get through this. And, that's really all that we can ask for.
I just want to share with you a little bit of the support that's coming in. Ayobami Salami says, any special medication the people are responding to?
Yeah, the teams have been trying different things on people. There's not really been anything except for the COVID plasma that we see, like I said, where I am, it might be different than where other people are. We do see the worst cases. But the COVID plasma has been one thing that we've been seeing people get better with. So a lot of people are promoting people to get the antibody testing to see if they do have the antibodies for COVID, to donate their blood. Because one thing that we've been seeing has really helped people.
You might see here, Betty Walensky, my dear niece, I'm so very proud of you. I actually know Betty too. Jean Klobuchar, all of you nurses and your families, be blessed. Here, love Nurse Jacquie, Ariel, Michelle. Thank you so much, Jacquie, from Sherry Lynn. The nurses are all so courageous. They work very hard. Thank you for being there. And that goes for whatever the country, from Linda Robert. Connie Gildersleeve says, Jacquie, please share with all of your coworkers how much we all appreciate what you are doing. Here's from Nicole Rosen Pavone. We loved Nick. What a sweetheart. So glad he's been discharged and is now on his way back to good health. Here's Sherry Lynn saying she's actually allergic to her mask. So I'm a little miserable, but I know it's necessary. Lynn Arnoski, what a sweetheart Jackie is. Ira Gomberg, beyond strong. Natalie Caruso. Just we are thankful for each and every doctor and nurse and staff member at WMC. You have an incredible team there. We are forever grateful. So many people, wanting to wish you well. And I really appreciate you taking the time today on your day off to be with us. I'm happy that Elise Silvestri works for me because she's related to Betty, and you're Betty's niece, I think. So she was helpful in getting you here today. Stay safe. Really, I know you guys are all being incredibly careful. You just have to know how much all of us are incredibly grateful for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and we really appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
All right. I thank you very much. Bye-bye, Jackie. So you guys, was that not a great guest to have on? And I kept from crying because my eye makeup would run. Come on. So listen, I loved that interview. I mean, I'd always just, I'm so impressed with, the faith over fear kind of thing. I see one of you wrote that, faith over fear, just being able to do this. I want to tell you a little bit about tomorrow. If any of you have been out in the grocery store, maybe you get Women's Day magazine. There I am right there. See, Joan Lunden inside this magazine. And so I participated with them, and we interviewed a whole bunch of women about what it takes to be a strong woman. So I want you to think about that, okay? Because tomorrow we're not going to be talking about, these are all the women. We're going to be talking about not just all the health, physical things, but also the other things that come, resilience and perseverance and being able to shake things off your back and move on. So here's the group of women. It's what does it mean to be a strong woman in 2020? So kind of keep that in your head, okay? Because we'll talk about this tomorrow. And we're going to have Megan Murphy with us, and she's the head of this magazine. And I'm telling you, she's and look what she did for me for doing that. Ba-ba! That's the kind of publicity I like for a new book, but you're going to love her. I've introduced you to a lot of like Spitfire, inspiring, motivating women, and believe me, Megan is one of them. Thursday, any questions you have about mammograms, ultrasounds, dense breast tissue, if you have any questions, I've got a wonderful woman on, Dr. Diane LaRusso. She founded the Rye Radiology here in our area, and it's where my cancer was found. She'll be able to answer all your questions. And Friday, we're going to be talking with Dr. Judy Garber. She is a fabulous doctor up at Dana-Farber in Boston. She's also the chairman of the whole group with BCRF, that's the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, that seeks out who's doing the best work all over the world in cancer research. And they, like this year, they give $66 million to, I think it's about 126 researchers everywhere, and I think it's 40 some countries. And a lot of it now is going to metastatic breast cancer research. So we'll talk to her about all that, and we'll talk to her about what's on the horizon. It's always good, and it's always gives you such great hope when you find out what's coming down the pike. All right, so everybody be well. Aren't we happy that I'm doing this on this new system, so I don't have to like hold my little phone up here? Have a great day. Namaste. Thank you all for joining me every day. Bye, you guys.